Okay, I think I'm live on all channels. Okay, so how do I find a sponsor? How should I find a sponsor? Well, first off, you must find a sponsor if you want to stay clean and sober. And I see a lot of people that they want to work a 12-step program. They say they're working a 12-step program. They're going to meetings, but I don't have a sponsor yet. I don't know how to find a sponsor. And I want to pick the perfect sponsor. I've seen this happen so many times. If you don't find a sponsor, if you don't pick a sponsor, just pick one. If you don't have a sponsor, you're not going to make it. There's no way you're going to make it. You're not going to make it. You're not going to stay sober because your best thinking got you where you are today. Your best thinking got you where you are today. Your best thinking is not going to help you transform your life. And so I guess I can start by telling you how I found my sponsor. And so I went to my very first meeting March 8th, 2011. That was the very first meeting that I ever went to. And I remember sitting there and I heard people say, well, you need to get a sponsor. You need to work the steps. Here's a big book. And it was, and first off, the very first meeting I ever went to, it was the birthday cake meeting on 42nd Street in Thomas at 7 p.m. And there was more laughter, more joy, more like, I couldn't even, I couldn't even believe that I was around a bunch of people that were clean and sober. And they all definitely had something that I did not have because I was crying. I was full of guilt and shame for my behavior. And I was at my bottom. I was ready to change my life. I was ready to transform. I was ready to do something different. So that was my first meeting. They said, go to a meeting every day, get a big book, get a sponsor, work the steps, go to a meeting every single day. And so the second meeting I went to was Prince of Peace. It was a 5:30 meeting, and it was at in Arizona in Arcadia. It was 56th Street in Indian School, Prince of Peace. And there was a guy there. His name was Ray, and he said, "Do you have a sponsor?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Okay, do you want me to be your sponsor?" And I said, "Sure." So I didn't know anything about Ray. I did actually know. I take that back. I did hear him share because at Prince of Peace, you break up into small groups after there's a speaker for 20 minutes, and then I heard Ray share for about 3 minutes, and he seemed like a guy that was clean and sober and doing the deal. And he said, "Do you have a sponsor?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Do you do you want me to be your sponsor?" I said, "Sure." And that was how it started. That was how I picked my very first sponsor. And the thing that I hear from people many times is that they want to find the perfect sponsor. They're like, "Oh, I'm still thinking about it. I'm thinking about this guy. I'm thinking about that guy, and I might pick this guy, but I'm not sure yet." And it's like you just got to pick a sponsor. That's all you got to do. The way you know it's the right sponsor is because that was the sponsor that you picked. And so for me, Ray was my very first sponsor. And I I mean, I guess mainly you want to make sure that a person, um, based upon your first experience or your experience with them, I guess you get a good feeling from them. They say something that you relate to. They give off good energy. You feel good around them. And even if you don't feel good around them, it doesn't really matter. Like, you just need to pick a sponsor because your best thinking got you where you are today. And so picking a sponsor, so like I said, I picked Ray. Ray was my first sponsor. He was available. He wanted to take me through the steps. He was available to work with me in person on a weekly basis. So when you're picking a sponsor, it's like, hey, is this guy available to work with me on a weekly basis and actually work the steps? So I met with Ray on a weekly basis, and we did step one the first week. And I went to meetings every single day. I went to meeting one or two meetings every single day. His suggestions were go to a meeting every day, call me every single day, and let's meet on a weekly basis to do step work. And that was what we did. And I remember a few weeks into it, we had got through the first three steps. I remember thinking, gosh, I'm not sure if this is the right sponsor for me. And he had a lot of the things that I wanted, but he wasn't totally exactly what I was looking for. And then I remember I came across another guy. I mean, doors open, doors close. There are no coincidences in life, I believe. And so there was another guy that I came across, and his name was Todd. And Todd ended up, I'm I'm not gonna I'm not gonna really go into the story, but Todd was a business guy, and he was married, he had 2 kids, he was successful in business and in life, and we had more in common. He liked to, I guess, work out, take care of himself. He was healthy, he was fit, he was living a healthy lifestyle. He had a lot of the things that I wanted, and he went to a lot of meetings. He knew a lot of people in the AA community. And so I remember I wanted Todd to be my sponsor, and I said, "Hey, will you be?" And I remember I was super nervous when because this was like the guy. This was the guy that I wanted to be my sponsor. And I asked him if he would be my sponsor, and he said, "Yeah, I'd love to be your sponsor." Um, and I told him that I had another sponsor, and my other sponsor, Ray. He said, "Okay, just let Ray know that I'm going to be sponsoring you, and we can go from there." So first, I had to let Ray know. So I had the conversation with Ray, which was, I thought it was a hard conversation. I thought that Ray was gonna feel bad, or I thought that he was gonna feel like I was firing him, which I essentially was firing him. But it wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad thing. And he said, "Great, I'm happy for you." And he said, "Thanks for letting me know." And Ray was exactly what I needed for about the first month that I was clean and sober. And then I started working with Todd. And he was an amazing sponsor for me. He was plugged in. He knew lots of people in the AA community. He went to lots of meetings. He was available to meet with me on a weekly basis in person to actually work the steps. He gave me great feedback, great direction. He gave me instructions. And that really, I mean, shoot, I called Todd every single day for like probably the first 2 years. And so I guess the main thing, there are a couple things. Once you start working with a sponsor, it's important to follow instructions. They're going to tell you what to do. Okay, your sponsor, also known as an interpreter, is going to essentially walk you through the steps. That's what a sponsor's job is. A sponsor's job is to take you through the steps. And it will also be an intimate relationship. My relationship with my sponsor was the first intimate relationship I ever had with another man. And when I say intimate, I don't mean sexual intimacy. I mean intimate, meaning below the surface, meaning we really connected on a deep level. I cried in front of Todd. I called him every single day. He was there for me. He was available. He took me through the steps. He introduced me to lots of other people in the AA community. He told me what to do, and I was willing to take instructions. He told me to go to a meeting every day. I went to a meeting every day. He told me to do a gratitude list every single day and call 3 people and share my gratitude list with 3 people. And that's what I did. He told me to go get a service commitment when the time was right. He said, "Go get a service commitment." I went and got a service commitment. So he told me what to do, and I took action on the things that he told me to do. And I don't think that I worked the program. I worked the 12 steps perfectly, which, I mean, what is, I guess I did work them perfectly because I worked them the way that I was supposed to work them. And I followed his instructions. And every single sponsor is going to do things a different way. And so I guess a couple of main things. Once you start working with your sponsor, it's important to follow his instructions. Okay. I've seen many people that are super smart. Alcoholics and drug addicts, we're smart. We're really smart. And a lot of times we're too smart for our own good. And what ends up happening is that, and I've worked with sponsees, like I've seen lots of people like that, especially people that are successful in business and they have a lot of, I guess, things on the outside. It appears like they're successful in life. They are making a ton of money. Maybe they're married. I mean, whatever. They have a lot of things going on in their life, and they're smart. They're smart and they think that they know everything. And the problem with people that think they know everything is that they don't want to take suggestions. So it doesn't matter how smart you are or how smart you think you are, your best thinking got you where you are today. So you got to find a sponsor and follow his instructions, even if you don't agree with his instructions, even if you don't agree with the things he's telling you to do. What's the worst that's going to happen? He's not telling you to go out and rob a bank. He's not telling you to go out and get drunk. He's just telling you to call 3 people a day, do a gratitude list. When you get up in the morning, first thing you do is you hit your knees and you you pray and you thank God for this beautiful day and you have gratitude and get a service commitment. And then he's going to tell you, or she is going to tell you, to start sponsoring people. And my experience with both myself and with other people is once I started sponsoring people, there's just a whole new layer of accountability available. So first you got to work with the sponsor, follow instructions, take suggestions. And even if your sponsor's suggestions are completely off the wall, it's all about putting your ego aside, humbling yourself, and doing what somebody else tells you to do. I mean, I've heard people talk about, their sponsor told them to wear pink tennis shoes, and that's kind of one of the examples. Being willing to go to any lengths to get and stay sober, and working with the sponsor and taking suggestions and following instructions. And if he tells you to call him every single day, call him every single day, or call her every single day. And a lot of times, I I I've worked with many people and I feel the same way. Like, I don't want to call my sponsor because I feel like I'm always complaining. And you might not want to call your sponsor because you think he or she is super busy. And I get that a lot because I'm very busy. I've got a lot going on. My life is very full in business, my personal life, my AA. I mean, I've got so many things going on in my life, but remember that you are helping your sponsor stay sober. So if he asks you to call him every single day, put your ego aside, make time to call him, even if it's a 1 minute phone call. And even if he doesn't answer the phone, because a lot of times I'm going to give a sponsee instructions to call me every single day. And I want him to call me every single day. And if I'm not available, guess what? I won't answer the phone. And sometimes I won't call him back. And I'm not talking just a text message, I'm talking a phone call. But whatever your sponsor tells you to do, if your sponsor says, give me a text message every day, then hey, today is a little bit different because there's text messages, there's voice text messages that are available, there's video calls, there's FaceTime calls. So there's a lot of different things that are available, but following instructions is super important. And so what if you don't agree with your sponsor? Again, if you don't agree with your sponsor, then as long as it's not something that is illegal or you're gonna get in trouble for, or it's gonna jeopardize your sobriety, then there's no reason not to do it, in my experience, in my opinion. And so last thing is, I want to point out, I already started pointing this out, you are helping your sponsor stay sober. This is a form of service. I guess you can call it a form of service work. When you're working with a sponsor and you're calling him every single day and you're giving him the opportunity to take you through the steps, you're helping him stay sober. You're providing more accountability to him. I was talking with a newcomer a couple days ago, and he was telling me that he hasn't met with his sponsor in person for about a month or over a month. He's stuck on step 3 and he really wants to work the steps. And it's like, hey, in that case, if your sponsor's not available to work with you and meet with you on a weekly basis, then maybe you should find another sponsor, because you want to work with a sponsor that is going to take you through the steps, because you want to get through this. And it's up to you to be assertive, like, hey, when can we get together so we can work on step 4? Because step 4 is really where the work begins. Okay, last thing I want to touch on. How do I fire my sponsor? So if you have a sponsor, because I've seen lots of people, they're working with a sponsor, they don't like their sponsor. And hey, as addicts and alcoholics, we're people pleasers. We don't want to have hard conversations. And that was one of the things I learned how to do being in recovery, being clean and sober is how to have hard conversations. And firing a sponsor could possibly be a hard conversation. And really it's not a hard conversation. It's an easy conversation. It's, hey, I think that maybe you and I are not working so well together, and I want to find another sponsor. But I would urge you to find another sponsor. So don't fire your sponsor until you have somebody else lined up, which is, that's just my opinion. I'd say find somebody new, because if you fire your sponsor and you don't have somebody else lined up, then you're going to be self-sponsoring. And when you're self-sponsoring, things never go well. Things never go well when you're self-sponsoring. So that's all I got for this video. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.